Parish money. Now, I don't know if that's a position y'all want to take on this or not, but if there's no comments to the contrary, we'll just keep it that way.
Let me ask a question. Charles, have we calculated what that potential income loss would be?
No, ma'am.
I'd like to know.
So basically, this is for people over 65, they can lock their taxes in. Right. Correct?
Is it
I
just,
mean, we're talking about $5,000, which I'm just using that hypothetically. We're talking about $1 million, that's a different.
I just have to get the tax assessor and see if there's any way they can come up with a figure, and I'll let you know.
is this just talking about for the homestead?
Yes, sir. No, sir. This would freeze the assessment for
Yeah,
people.
the homestead assessment, not other property taxes, just the homestead assessment, right?
Property taxes.
I think it would, I'm not sure,
You're following?
yes, sir, yes, sir.
I mean, you're getting, if you're over 65 and you're making $50,000 or less, then your property tax is frozen at that
Right,
amount.
that's right,
That only applies to your homestead.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Homestead assessment, okay.
yes, sir.
I'm kind of like Ms. Lynch, would like to know what it was because,
Okay.
you know,
Anybody else have anything on that particular point? Because since we're at it, then, you know, I think maybe we need to consider the big picture here, not to get in a lot of debate, so I'll be real quick on my comments. You know, we're wanting to grow our population, and we have out-migration in the state. The biggest segment of people with the money are the baby boomers, and I'm part of the tail end of it. You want them to come here, retire, because of our weather, our proximity. They buy homes, they buy cars, they use the base, they use the medical things. What a better way to attract retirees than to say your property taxes can be frozen? And just because you may live to be 80, it doesn't mean we're going to take advantage of you. Right. I mean, so what's the point? If they can lock it in under 50 now, under 50,000 income, why not let them come? We're trying to get people here, and I think as a state, that's short-sighted. You want to build this state's population by 1 million people over the next 10 years because they're moving from Florida and California like crazy because they can't afford to and property values are down. Why don't you just eliminate state income tax for people over 65? This is some broad thinking, but think about it. They would come in droves. What do you think they're going to do? Sit on their money? They're going to go out, they're going to eat, they're going to buy medicine, they're going to go to the doctors, they're going to buy homes, they're going to buy cars. I mean, this we may want to consider as being a little bit short-sighted. Because what we want, or what I hear we say we want, not only in Caddo Bossier and in the state, is we want the retirees to come here. We want your disposable income. Well, that's why we want to throw up a roadblock for the wealthy. We just want the poor retirees to come here. They can't spend any money. Let the rest of them come. They'll spend their money. It's just my thought. Anyone else? Mr. Thibodeau.
Yeah, I just want to say that Mr. Pearson and I are in favor of that bill and the one that follows. Not that it would do either of us any good right now, but it's pretty close.
Yes, sir, I can relate to that. Well, I guess what I'm hearing is I'm going to get the additional information that Commissioners Lynch and Dominic have talked about.
The
And I'm
economic
going to,
impact is
Ma'am?
a way more weightier issue, the economic impact.
and I'll send that to y'all by email, and then hopefully the bill will not be heard for another 10 days till y'all meet again, and we can revisit again, and y'all tell me what you want to do. SB 23 doubles the homestead exemption. Again, I put a pose on there just because it's consistent with the Commission's position in the past. Homestead exemption, as everybody knows, is $7,500 now. This would double it to $15,000. And again, I don't know, 75 to 15,000, yeah. And again, if you're asking what this would cost, Commissioner Lynch, I can maybe
No,
find
I can calculate that one. I agree to oppose that.
Oh, yeah.
And then, on a similar subject, Senate Bill 24 limits the assessment, increases in assessment in any 1 year to the CPI. Again, I put a pose on that for the same reason I just said.
Let me ask a question. Have we ever raised the assessment above the CPI in Caddo?
Yes, ma'am.
We have?
When you go through revaluation, and the Commission's had many discussions about this in the past, Sometimes the assessed valuation on particular properties gets raised a great deal. And I know assessment before last, most residential assessments, at least in certain parts of town, went up about 28%, but there was a corresponding reduction in business assessments. So if you cap the assessment at the CPI, I mean, all I can tell you is right now, some assessments go up way more than that, and some of them go up less than that, because in reassessment, the end result is that all the assessments are supposed to equal the same as they did before.
So that would basically limit the tax assessor,
Yes.
Yes.
not necessarily commission, the tax.
It doesn't have anything to do with the commission's business, other than that based upon the tax assessor's work, you get the income. But, I mean, these are your constituents that are affected by this legislation.
Do you not think that could possibly correct what I consider is arbitrary and erroneous assessments by the assessor in these reassessment years? The fact that I live here, my neighbors live next to me for 20 years, I've lived there for 10, our houses of equal size, equal value, I pay more taxes than he does, more property taxes, but he's been there longer. Now, that's not the way the law is written, and that's not the way it's supposed to be. So why should I pay 20% more taxes than he can? I understand we need the tax revenue from the property. It's not being done right now. It's not being done fair. And certainly, to put a cap on it would mean that you can't have 30% of increase over here in one subdivision and only 2% over here. That's, so I understand there's a big revenue issue. But this, since the assessors statewide, this is not a Caddo problem from what I understand, can't seem to properly reevaluate the property or revalue it every so often. This at least will stop these strange, wide-ranging differences and variances in percentage of assessment. Would it not?
Well, yes, sir, and Commissioner, I forgot my role, but you are talking to the choir here, I just point out.
I know how you feel about it personally, but I'm just talking in...
But I will say that as the value of real estate ebbs and flows, and of course it's been down in lots of parts of the country this year, real estate goes up and down, not in concert with the CPI necessarily, and so it would seem to me that if you capped the increases in assessments at the CPI, it could result in more inequities because you could be having people underassessed. But I don't know. I mean, it's a complicated subject, and I don't know what else to say.
Thank you.
House Bill 246 exempts disabled, typo, veterans and their spouses from paying property taxes. That is people who are 100% disabled per the VA. This one's a little rough, but I put a pose on it for the same reason that I have said earlier, just to maintain consistency with your positions. 407 we've more or less covered. 434 is too complicated to go into. It changes the wording that you have to put on tax balance and one thing and another, but it's very technical in nature. House Bill 444 limitations on work release programs. I did refer that bill to the sheriff's office for comments, and I noticed I did get a call back that I haven't been able to return yet, so I'll just keep that as monitor unless y'all have any questions. I'm thinking it may have an effect on the number of prisoners at CCI that are available for work release, because the bill, when you read it, says that people that participate in work release programs in parish jails have to be residents of the parish, and I just don't know how that affects the work release program that goes on at CCC.
So we don't know if the sheriff is going to oppose this or not then?
Well, I mean, I would not think y'all would want to, I would think that y'all would not want to do anything that would limit the number of people that can work in the work release program, because that not only benefits the sheriff, but it benefits us,
Right.
or the parish. House Bill 76, I just say this in the interest of fire districts and stuff, it would amend the laws pertaining to the pro-employees retirement system to provide that in any parish taxing district, which would be fire districts and water districts and that kind of thing. All employees of parish taxing districts must be eligible for membership in PERS for any of them to be. It sounds to me like a bill that was drafted to cure some particular problem somewhere, so I just put monitor on it. The next two bills, I put commission call on your list. Obviously, all these bills are commission calls, but that's my code word for yours truly has a personal interest in these bills, so I want to make sure that I'm disclosing that. Senate Bill 85 raises the employee contributions in PERS from 9.5% to a range of 8 to 11%. As you know, there's been a number of efforts over the last 4 or 5 years to help cure the actuarial deficit in not just the parochial system, but also the other state retirement systems. And that's why, for example, the employer contribution that the parish is now paying to PERS is significantly higher than it was in the past. But the employee contribution, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Bryant, but the employee contribution has remained at 9.5% for a number of years. This bill would give the Retirement System Board the authority to fluctuate the employee or to set the employee contribution every year in a range from 8% to 11%, although I would assume that we'll see 11% before we see 8%. Does anybody have any questions or comments about that? I mean, I really hesitate to say anything more.
We've been informing all employees on this change. We're doing our walk-arounds now, so we've visited about 4 departments already this week, and we informed employees of this particular bill this before the legislature this year that may impact their retirement contributions, so they're aware of it.
So the 9.5 right now is the minimum.
Yes, ma'am.
No, ma'am, it is set at 9.5.
Well, it's set at
now.
9.5,
Yeah.
right. You're either at 9.5 or nothing.
Right.
What are the,
And-
I'm sorry.
And, well, let me just say this. I think as much as we watch anything that could affect our revenue, we need to look at our expenses as well. Now, is this going to require the parish to put in any more?
No, ma'am, this particular bill just addresses the employee contribution. Yeah, so, you know, in effect, I mean, if they raise it to 11% from 9.5, it would mean in effect your employees are having well, they're paying an additional
Out of your
1.5%.
paycheck.
Yes.
I mean, you save more, but I don't have the option of saying I want to put in 8% or 10%.
No.
I have to put in, if they set it at 11%, I have to put in 11%.
Yes, ma'am.
If you want to participate in the program.
Right.
Well,
which I already
participation is
am.
mandatory.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I think what I'd like to do is discuss that in conjunction with the next bill, Senate Bill 100.
This is the
Senate, in 2006, the legislature passed a law that set this has to do with, you calculate retirement on the basis of your average final compensation.
That's 3
And
years.
until 2006, the calculation was based upon the highest 36 months. And in that year, there was a bill filed to increase the modify the calculation to be based upon your highest 5 years pay. So obviously, that would cause a savings to the retirement system and a reduction in retirement benefits paid to employees. There was a big political fight there, and the end result of it was the bill came out and signed into law applying the 3%, the 3-year basis for the calculation to existing employees, but for any employees hired after January 1st, 2007, they would be their retirement would be based upon 60 months or 5 years. Now, for some reason that I don't know, and I have a call-in for the lady that runs the retirement system, she did return my call back, but I just hadn't time to call her back yet. Now they are trying to, with this bill, this would, to my way of thinking, modify the arrangement that was made in 2006 to provide that all employees, regardless of when they were hired, would have their retirements calculated on the basis of the highest 5 instead of the highest 3. I'll just tell y'all with my, again, repetition, that this affects me personally and a lot of other parish employees, that in my view, this is not fair. I mean, retirement benefits are supposed to be contractual, and that, and what this amounts to is that it basically goes into effect on January the 1st, 2011. So the bottom line is, for people like me, for example, if I want my retirement to be based upon the calculation that's been based upon ever since I came here, I would have to retire before January the 1st, 2011, after which the law says you take into account every succeeding month in making the calculation until you get to 5 years. So, for example, if, and keep in mind, Commissioners, this is all strictly hypothetical, but if I was to retire July 1st, 2011, I get less of a retirement benefit than if I retired December 31st, 2010. So, to me, this is grossly unfair, and the compromise, if you will, that was reached in 2006 to help fund the system actuarially by changing the game for people, for new hires, where they know what they're getting when they come into it, is a whole lot more fair than applying it retroactively to the existing employees.
Okay, Charles, let's go on to the next one. We got a lot of stuff here, and we got a committee meeting after this. Mr. Wilson, in the future, if we have any report that's part of your administration report that's going to go on more than 10 minutes, I want to know about it because I'm going to put it to the end of the agenda. We have guests here, and I don't think they should have to listen through all this stuff. Okay. So they've got stuff to do. This is just a matter of courtesy. Thank you.
So can I just ask, does the Commissioner have any comments they want to make on that bill, or are we just going to keep it as monitor?
Well, the question I have is how much money, do we know what the impact, what that impact would be for the parish? How much money would that save if it goes
There's no
5
impact.
years versus 3?
There'd be no impact for the parish at all.
What about that? I mean, if it's averaging over 5 years, as opposed to 3, if it would impact you personally, then you working for the parish, obviously would be.
No, ma'am, because we're talking about the retirement benefit paid by the Pro Employees Retirement System. It's immaterial to the parish.
Okay, thank you.
So to sum it up, there's no financial responsibility for the parish, it's just the employee. So then I would assume, if it's as most of you here, I think I feel like most of you, that we want to take a position that's in the best interest of our employees. And we can leave that up to HR I'm certainly has advised him as to what that position should be. Unless there's any objection to that, I think we'll just move forward on that basis.
Thank you. Senate Bill 103 puts a fund under the Department of Natural Resources revolving fund for political subdivision divisions to use to purchase alternative fuel vehicles. Sounds like a source of funding to us, so I would assume we'd support that. House Bill 461, regulation of telecommunications. It puts telecommunications in the hands of the Public Service Commission. I just follow Police Jury Association lead on that, which I think is going to be to oppose it. House Bill 560 adds demolition liens to the tax bills, makes them easier to collect, so I would assume we would support. House Bill 566 requires disclosure by public officials of information regarding employment and contributions to people hired or contribute in excess of $1,000. That means that if you as a public official have someone that contributes $1,000 or more to your political campaign and they end up getting hired by your public agency, there would be a financial disclosure requirement as part of your annual filing that you make on May 15th of each year to show that.
How are you supposed to know that?
It's a big parish. What if we hire somebody
I mean, somebody from Vivid could have sent me a check for $1,000, 8 years ago, 2 campaign cycles ago, and I don't have that in public work. How am I supposed to know that?
They don't worry about that.
Well, then we need to oppose that. That's real vague.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
566.
588 requires oil and gas operators to provide additional information to mineral owners regarding their payments. It goes into the prices that they got when they resold the oil and that sort of thing. Doesn't directly affect parish government. House Bill 620 requires any share of the taxing district to pay for the tax office. Right now, that tax office is paid for by the tax recipient bodies in proportion to the taxes they collect. I would assume that we just want to monitor that. 627 provides additional flexibility in splitting precincts. Let me see. 675 and 676 provide for local elections to determine the amount of the homestead exemption. This body could call for an election. It would be effective in Caddo Parish, for example, to propose that the homestead exemption be doubled. 690 is interesting. It would provide for parish-wide jurisdiction of constables meeting certain requirements, that they be post-certified, been in office so much time, et cetera, et cetera. Right now, their jurisdictions are limited to their particular districts.
It's not saying they have to be post-certified, it's just saying if...
Yes, sir, they would have to be in order to have parish-wide jurisdiction.
If they're not, they still get to represent their own ward, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
719, we've kind of already talked about. 761 is crazy. 761, well, that's my tour, provides for financial disclosure for all public employees authorized to negotiate contracts. I don't know who all that is with parish government, but it's probably everybody who works in the 8th floor. That we'd have to do the same financial disclosures or similar financial disclosure that y'all do. Speaking on
Does
behalf
the
of...
administrator ultimately have to sign off on all those contracts?
Yes.
Then that should be adequate?
I don't think so, sir. The way this thing is written, I think anybody that's negotiating contracts, dealing with
I'm not
vendors...
talking about the way it's written, I'm just saying for our purposes that if you would stop it there, that would be the most, and I don't even think that's necessary. I think we've opposed this. This is just...
I agree.
Yep.
All right, 771, additional notice requirements for rolling forward. Millages is just makes it a little harder to roll forward. 777 would make the municipal association and the police jury association public bodies for the purpose of the open meeting laws. I'm sure that they're vigorously opposed to that, and I would assume that
To make them a public
we would
body?
just follow them. Sir?
It's going to make them a public body?
For the purpose of the open meeting. So when the board meets, it would be an open meeting.
Okay.
I would assume, Mr. President, of the Police Jury Association, y'all are opposing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we would follow the police jury's lead on that.
Well, let's change that to oppose.
Ma'am? HCL 1 just authorized a groundwater study. I think we would assume we'd support that. Senate Bill 186, to be valid, any tax election must have at least 1/3 of the voters participate in the election. As you know, it's common in those kind of elections to have a 5 or 10% turnout. This would say if you didn't have a 1/3 participation, no tax.
I like that, personally, but
It would also
I'm not
include,
suggesting anything.
I think it would also include renewals, Mr.
I
President.
like that.
Well,
I'm outgunned here, I'm just expressing my personal opinion, I really like that.
Somebody.
220 is technical, 249, the Equal Pay Act for Women. This is what Representative
Senate bill.
he gets mine out every year.
Senate bill.
Representative Jordan
Was that Senator? Okay, you're right.
Norton puts that in it. Well, I don't know who did it.
Senate bill.
All right, 254 requires political subdivision to purchase only hybrid vehicles. I don't think that's a problem anymore. I think about all the vehicles we purchase are capable of running on hybrid fuels anyway. 278 makes demolition liens the same as we did before. Support 280 exempts public employee records from public record laws. It exempts all public employee records from the public record laws. Right now, only certain information is exempt from the public records laws. I would assume that's a bit more detailed than y'all want to deal with. Senate Bill 507, financial disclosure by people lobbying local government. This is a bill that Senator Lydia Jackson has filed. I haven't had a chance to talk to her to find out what's behind it, but the point is, it would require anybody that comes to influence you in your voting on any matter, to have to file with the ethics people and file the same reports that lobbyists do that lobby for.
This applies just to paid lobbyists?
This applies, as I read, Commissioner, to anybody that contacts members of the governing body of a local governmental subdivision for the purpose of influencing their vote.
A private citizen can call us or come up here and express,
That's the way the bill's
express his, a public hearing, express his opinion. He's going to fill out a financial disclosure because he says, please don't roll back this tax or do this or don't do that or don't pass this budget amendment.
In the interest of time, let me make this suggestion if I could, Mr. President. Let me talk to Senator Jackson and get a little bit more specificity on that and give you some more.
Thank you.
564 is our local bill abolishing the jail site fund, which Senator Jackson's handling for us. I want to add one other bill, House Bill 273, which y'all don't have, that absolve pharmacists from the responsibility to collect local sales and use taxes on prescription drugs. The fiscal note of the bill says it would cost local government at least $500,000 a year. I would assume we would oppose that. I don't know what it would cost in Caddo Parish, but it'd be, at least according to the fiscal note, $500,000 spread out over the state. Unless y'all have any other questions, I'm through.
I think we'll digest this. I'm sure everybody will email you as they have time to absorb this information. And appreciate you.
Thank you.
Mr. Wilson, do you have anything else?
No, sir.
Ms. Lynch?
I just have a couple of, in the interest of time, of
Yes,
cost
communicate.
savings initiatives from the National Association of Counties that I brought back. One is a government employees marketplace. I have the brochure there for you all. But this government employee marketplace is a discount program developed to provide government employees with access to thousands of discounts that are available in the private sector for government employees. And so I'm passing that information on to Mr. Wilson. I've signed up, and you all can sign up and see if it's something that we want to potentially provide access for our employees to use. The other is a initiative on saving inmate healthcare costs through a medical audit service through NACO. Right now, I understand we're spending about $2.6 million for medical treatment for inmate healthcare and related costs out at CCC. And this is already in effect in about, I think they told me 45 counties are using this particular service through NACO. And the brochure that I handed out gives some examples of 4 or 5 counties and the monies that they've been able to save, anywhere from 30% to 65% on those costs. Dallas County, I guess, is the closest to us that's using it. And so I've given this information to the administrator as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lynch. Mr. Cox?
Just a formal notice, the policy and procedures meeting from 2 weeks ago, where we made some changes. We'll have a resolution coming up to recognize those changes and present to the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. Mr. Dominic?
A couple of weeks ago, I had an opportunity to go to the grand opening in Ida of the park, where we had placed the money to help them build a park, and on behalf of the mayor and the city council, they're very appreciated the help that we did give. It was very well attended, and the community really, really appreciates that. And I just wanted to send that out, and also wanted to thank the mayor. If Commissioner Pearson or Cox would have came up, y'all got to eat lunch. We went to.
Now you tell me.
Well, we told you ahead of time. I
I'm
thought
gonna die
Commissioner
now.
Pearson was going to come.
I'm gonna
But he took me to Caraway's, and that's where we ate lunch today in our park. And on the last Saturday of every month, they have bluegrass band. It's really, really unique. You probably will never find anything like that in this area. But they're playing bluegrass while you're eating. on the last Saturday of every month. It's a very unique, nice thing, so I just want to promote fairways, hope somebody gets to go up there.
Hey, Carl, you don't like bluegrass anyway, do you?
Thank you, Mr. Dominic. Any other communication reports? If not, we have public comments. John here, is John Hubbard, did he leave?
Yes.
Okay. Any of you guys want to say anything? Okay, thank you.
It's only once a year.
All right, public hearing on ordinances, please.
Yes, sir, ordinance 4972, declares certain adjudicated property to be surplus.
Anyone here to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone opposed? Next item, please.
Ordinance 4973 revokes dedication of North Road Circle in Roachcliffe Estates.
Is anyone here to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone in opposition? Thank you. Next.
Ordinance 4974 rescinds subdivision of Bear Bryant subdivision.
Anyone here to speak in favor of this? Anyone in opposition? Thank you. Okay.
Yes, sir. Move the ordinances for final passage, delayed to March 4th. Ordinance 4967, amend your code of ordinances to provide for establishment of reasonable uniform supplemental road and bridge use regulations.
Moved by Mr. Smith,
Thank you.
seconded by Commissioner Pearson. Is there any discussion on this ordinance? Please vote. That passes. Next ordinance, please.
Ordinance 4972, sell surplus adjudicated property.
Moved by Commissioner Epperson, seconded by Commissioner Pearson. Is there any discussion on the ordinance? Please vote. That passes. Next item, please.
Ordinance 4973 revokes Road Circle subdivision dedication.
All right. So moved. Moved by Commissioner Epperson, seconded by Commissioner Pearson. Any discussion? Vote, please.
He was having a problem, sir. It's not working, sir.
Okay. Anybody opposed? Raise your hand. All in favor, passes unanimously. Next item, please.
Ordinance 4974 rescinds Bear Bryant subdivision.
So moved. Moved by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Epperson. Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, why they want to get rid of Bear Bryant? I mean, come on.
Please, because they want to. Simple.
Okay, being no more discussion, is there any, okay, we can vote. Machines up. Vote, please.
Saving subdivision.
Passes. Thank you. Good call. All right. Next item, please.
Zoning ordinances for introduction only. Zoning case appeal P18, ordinance 4975. Brian Bailey is the applicant appellant, asking to rezone property southwest of the side of Meriwether Road to RMHP resident mobile home park for proposed mobile home park. Also, zoning case P10, ordinance 4976. Thomas Moore is the applicant, asking to rezone property east side of Wallace Lake Road to RAE for proposed used utility trailer sales.
All right, thank you. Now we'll move to enter ordinances by title for introduction.
That's ordinance 4977. It declares adjudicated property to be surplus.
Very good, thank you. Need a motion to ratify the April 1st work session minutes?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Epperson, second by Commissioner Dominic. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, please vote. Very good. Mr. Smith, you voted no. Was that on in error there? Put Mr. Smith to yes, and thank you. Machine malfunction. Resolutions, please.
Yes, sir. Resolution 25 urges the governor and the legislature to include full funding for Section E of I-49.
So moved.
Second. Been moved by Commissioner Lane, seconded by Commissioner Cox. Is there any discussion on this motion? Okay, please vote. All right, next item, please.
Sure. Resolution 26 authorizes the administrator to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the sheriff's office concerning commissioning employees of the commercial vehicle enforcement unit of the parish.
Moved by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Dominic. Any discussion on this ordinance, resolution? Yes, Commissioner Jefferson.
Is this relative to the emails that I was seeing going back and forth about a future parish employee?
These are our road police, yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, that wasn't an issue, you know, that, I think we got something from Mr. Groves and you responded back.
He's talking about the constables, I think.
It's amended. No, that was something, yes, when I was asking if the constables, yeah, that's the same, it's all the same stuff.
Okay, so everything's squared away here, though, right?
Well, as far as the committee members and I think everybody else, yeah, we've worked on it in depth. Anybody else? Please vote. That passes. Next item, please.
Resolution 27 urges the legislature to introduce work for adoption of the legislation to provide a portion of the hotel motel occupancy tax.
Commissioner Pearson?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to move to delay, and if I get a second, I'd like to speak to that, please. I move to delay so that we can get some more communication with all of our delegates and all of our delegation in Baton Rouge. I want you to understand that I do believe this is something that we need to do. I think the Sports Authority has to have funding from financial revenues that it helped to raise. And the financial revenues of the hotel motel tax is directly proportional to some of the things that they have been able to do in terms of the programs and projects that they have initiated across this parish and Bossier Parish. So while I'm moving to delay, certainly we do think that that's the way to go in some way to get a part of that revenue so that they can be self-sufficient and not have to depend on anybody for revenue to do what they do. I think it's embarrassing, and I don't want to get on a soapbox, Mr. President, I'm going to quit in a minute. It's embarrassing to me that we have to have issues between the two agencies such that Shreveport, Bossier, Caddo Parish could end up being the losers. That's what's embarrassing to me. And to even have to do this, or to have to suggest that some money come from a different source to be able to do this is really not what I would like to do. I think that, and well, let me just say this. If someone wants to know why I feel this is important, call me. You don't have to call anybody else. I'm not a booger bear. I won't bite you. So we seem to be calling all over town to everybody. And then just call me. I'll be happy to meet with you, talk with you, sit down with you, and deal with you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Pearson. Mr. Cox?
I was just gonna back up what Mr. Pearson said, because I've received a couple of emails on this already, and, I'll back the play on this, Carl, and, postpone it.
Stickup. Yeah, I too am a little disappointed that, I think when the Sports Authority was put together, the city, I think it agreed to give them X number of dollars a year or whatever, but they never were given anything long-term, any kind of taxing authority. I'm not sure that I would agree with the method of taking the money from the Tourist Bureau, or taking that amount of money. That seems to be an extremely large amount of money. I would really like to see the two agencies be able to get together and work something out. I know that they have had some agreements where they've worked together, but and I realize that, you know, people's toes may get stepped on and all that, but the Sports Authority definitely needs to have some permanent financing. There's no doubt about that at all. But I think that we might be better served for the whole parish if the Sports Authority and the Tourist Bureau were able to come to some type of agreement as to how the current funds could be spent. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see them try to come forth and make a permanent agreement between the two agencies. may not be possible, I don't know. That's what I'd like to see.
Thank you, Ms. Lynch.
I just want to ditto Commissioner Thibodeau. I think anytime it gets to a point where the politicians have to get involved in something that these two agencies should be able to work out amongst themselves, it's not a desirable situation. And so I'm hoping that they will go back to the table and hammer out something that both of them can live with in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lynch. Mr. Pearson?
This was said, and thank you, Mike, I totally agree. It was set by a political move. It was, the creation of the sports authority was by the city, and it was the economic development arm where sports tourism is concerned for the city. And that's how it was developed. We've moved, it has taken on a life of its own in regards to what they've done, I mean, and lack of funding, lack of revenue, for whatever reason or another, just wasn't there. At first, we talked about having to get a portion of the economic development, a portion of the money that was generated from the sports authority in regards to the events that were put on, but that never really happened. And so the money that's generated through hotel motel tax is the only thing that visitors, that we have for visitors to participate in, that visitors participate in, that's directly proportional to whatever the activity is. So when visitors come and you do put on Bassmaster Classics or football games or triathlons or whatever you do, visitors come, they stay, so a portion of that money in some way ought to go back to the entity that created it. And that's really what the suggestion is. It's not an effort to take anything, but maybe to move in a situation where we can be equitable. I don't think that the two agencies are going to be able to sit down. I wish they were, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'm just hoping that at some point we'll be able to dedicate some funding.
Thank you, Commissioner Pearson. Anyone else? All right, with that exception, let's pull from the agenda. Next item, please.
Resolution 28 supports an application for a recreational trails grant.
Moved by Commissioner Dominic, seconded by Commissioner Thibodeau. Any discussion on this motion? If not, please vote. That passes. Old business, none, new business, please.
Reappointment of Alan Berry to the zoning board of appeals.
Moved by Commissioner Lynn, seconded by Commissioner Cox. Is there any discussion on this appointment? Oh, God. Please vote.
Cisterns Jam, sir.
Any opposition?
Yeah, just make
No?
sure.
All right. Yeah. It's unanimous. Next item, please.
Appoint Curtis Davis to the board of Pioneer Waterworks District 8.
Moved by Ms. McCullough, seconded by Commissioner Dominic. Is there any discussion on this appointment? All right, vote please. That passes. Next item, please.
Firm appointment of Michael Irving to Caddo Parish Communications District Number 1.
Been moved by Commissioner Dominic, seconded by Commissioner Smith. Is there any discussion on this appointment? Please vote. Thank you. Next items.
Confirm appointment of members of Caddo Parish Children and Youth Services Planning Board.
Move to place. Move to appoint. Commissioner Lynn has moved to appoint all as noted. Been seconded by Commissioner Pearson. Is there any discussion on this motion? Please vote.
It's jammed again.
All right, any opposition? All right, they all pass. Anybody else? Okay, we have a meeting of the NGO Economic Development Committee, meeting immediately following this meeting.
I have something I'd like to share with this body, if you would allow me.
Yes, ma'am.
Just out of honor and respect to this body, and based on inquiry from several of you in reference to me seeking the city council seat for District A, I want you to know that I will be seeking the city council seat District A, which now City Councilman Calvin Lester holds. I wanted you to be the first to know.
Thank you, Ms. McCullough. We're adjourned.
email that.